Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Fitness App channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. A new day, new show, new topic. A topic that is linked to the previous discussion we had in last show, literally. It's about, fitness, wellness, and the conditions behind them and how it all fits together. And also, how do people look at their health and wellness in a way that may and may not include diets. And today, my guest, she's very special because she is a success story and she runs her own company. And she's going to tell us a lot about that. But her story is very important, and her story is probably going to touch a lot of lives because a lot of folks today watching and listening may either experience it themselves in their family or someone that they know may have similar situation, similar, experience. And therefore, this could be literally an eye opener for them, something that can help them deal with it and really see the power of determination and a lot of things. So with that being said, I'm going to just hold for a minute and I'm going to introduce my guest today. So Stephanie Lueras is with us here. Stephanie, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's so good to be with you today.
It is an excellent day, and I know we had a few takes, so we did this already, right? but listen, we have to have some fun. But Stephanie, you're really an amazing person, and your story is just more amazing. And I think people deserve to hear it. And I think your advice today will change lives, literally. Please tell us a little bit about your story and how it all started. And then we can dissect a little bit about all the intricate stuff that you had to go through in your journey with fitness and wellness and health and diet, no diet, all that good stuff. Everything that we've kind of covered a little bit earlier. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, I haven't always been in the health and wellness space. I was a pastor for many years, but that wasn't the beginning of the story. I started dieting when I was 5 years old. I was put on my first diet. So you name the diet, I've been on it. I've gained and lost hundreds and hundreds of pounds in my life. I came to a point where dieting was off the table because clearly diets didn't work for me. And at the same time, life wasn't really going so great. It looked wonderful on the outside. I had the great job. I had the hunky husband. Things looked great on the exterior, except I didn't have the aesthetic and things didn't feel right on the inside. And in my mind, if I had the number on the scale, everything was going to be fixed. And dieting was off the table. So what was going to fix me? And I'm this goal-oriented person. I'm a linear thinker. So I just said one day, okay, let's just start changing a couple things. First thing I did was we're going to drink water. I drank a lot of coffee. I drank a lot of diet soda. And so I'm like, all right. And it wasn't let's run out and buy one of those giant gallon jugs and do these crazy water challenges you see all over the internet. I had a little 6-ounce glass and an obnoxious kitchen timer in my office. And every time the kitchen timer went off, I'd have to walk to the other end of the office and back and repeat over and over all day long to cultivate this habit of drinking water. Then it was, instead of going through the drive-through twice a day to feed my husband and myself, was cook at home. Doesn't matter what I'm preparing, but we're just going to cook at home. Then, as starting to cook at home, let's start to look at some different recipes. What are the foods we're eating? How are they making us feel? And starting to swap things out and have a little bit of fun in the kitchen and enjoy what we're eating. And just through this process of those very small steps over several months, drinking the water, eating at home, changing out some of these foods and how we're eating. I had already lost a little weight and was starting to feel a little bit better. And so I'm like, okay, maybe a little movement wouldn't be too bad. Now, I was 200 pounds heavier than I am today. And 200 pounds heavier on my body. I was pretty close to losing my mobility. I could not move very easily. So in my mind, the only possible thing I could do was walk. So I went out and walked to the end of the street and back. And I wanted to die. And I did this in flip-flops because the idea of putting on shoes for that short of walk was just too much work. But that walk up and back down the street became around the block, around the neighborhood, and further and building up that endurance. And one day I got the idea, and I don't know where this came from because I'm the girl that fake sick in gym class, but I thought, I wonder if I can run. And there was a stop sign like 50 yards down the road. And I ran to the stop sign. And it was again that idea of I am going to die. But something inside me lit up like I had never felt before from movement. And I'm like, this is for me. I have got to figure this out. This is it. This is what I want to do. So I went home and did all the homework because I'm like, I am going to figure out this fat girl running thing. And it became breaking it down again and really figuring out how to build up over time. And then it turned into 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, then jumping over into triathlons. Fast forward now over into 2022, 200 pounds later, and I'm now training for Ironman distance triathlons. But it's not just the physical part of it. It's not just the movement and nutrition. It's looking at the whole person in what changes emotionally. I'm also a person that has PTSD. I was not dealing with life. I was not dealing with the depression I was experiencing, the anxiety, my relationship with food. And so it was looking at what are the small changes in that I can start to improve there in growing my spiritual life. And it's not a particular faith or whatever. We all believe in something or someone or whatever, but growing that my personal spiritual life and looking at that whole person so that physically I was growing, emotionally I was growing, spiritually I was growing. And that's where that change came without spending a day in restrictive dieting, in intentionally dieting. The weight took care of itself when I was focused on what are the habits I'm engaging in that serve me best.
Wow. Well, I did say the word amazing, and the story just kind of, emphasized that today for our people as they listen, watch. I mean, just listening to your journey, and I really just love, and I was absorbing all this. you have gone from a tough place to really through the power of determination and persistence and resilience and consistency. You did it all, right? And you are a great example for people listening, watching right now, that if you put your mind to something, you can and you will. There is no way out but success. But you have to take the steps that's necessary. And again, you've covered a lot of things that for a lot of people those will be the end of the line. I mean, from just the way to the lifestyle, the different things that you have to deal with, and then PTSD, stress, anxiety, all these things. That is not small picking. Some people have difficulty deal with one of those elements. And by the way, it's nothing to take away from them. It's these are very difficult things, right? But whatever it is, your power of spirituality, you did it somehow. You made it work. But I know it's not as simple as it sounded in the last 5 minutes. These are years of work. These are years of hard work and struggle. And it's not a picnic. So again, just before we go further, and I know that the word diet came up there, a couple of times. There's no diet, no restrictions, and we want to get into that one. But I do want to go back to your early days, your childhood. I mean, this is not something that you've taken on when you were older. It was when you were a younger person, and that's a difficult age because you don't know any better, and then you are not in charge. Literally, your parents are, and so now you have to deal with those things. And sometimes, as children, we don't subscribe to a lot of things that our parents say. And I mean, I have kids, so I know it's always a challenge that you tell. They know by default, and it changes the dynamics. But especially if you're feeling the way you feel all this, and now your parents are going to probably have an influence to want to make a difference and try different diets with you. And that was not a picnic. And I just want for people that today watching and listening, if you have children that may have a similar situation, or someone, or yourselves, whatever the case may be, this could be an opportunity to actually learn on how to potentially deal with this in a positive way and make a difference. Because uh, what we do as parents can affect our kids, and one way or the other, good or bad. Unfortunately, a lot of us is the influence for them, right? And we're going to talk about that, obviously, through Stephanie. But the idea is, it was not a picnic. It was not easy. So can you just share with the audiences like your little struggles at the time, and or they're not so little, because I'm sure they were. I'm making them easy, but they're not. There were probably very big struggles, to just handle. And again, children are children. They love food. They want to enjoy their life. And when you start putting just restrictions all over the place, limitations, what you can eat, what you can't, diets, this and that, that's a difficult task, right? So let's talk about that childhood and how you kind of went through that phase, and what are some of the elements that you did or your parents did to help you. Maybe we can help some people at least identify. Now, again, times may have changed, but there's a new thing for all ages and every time, right? So there's a way to do this today that we can certainly take from you. So what were some of the steps and things or challenges that you've had throughout that first journey of yours?
Mhm. Well, the first thing is I always, start out with the caveat that I realize my parents did the best they can with the knowledge that they had, and that they absolutely love me. And I don't fault them for anything in my childhood. I'm a child of the 80s, and it was the culture of the height of VHS and beta aerobics and Jane Fonda and Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and Richard Simmons, and we all were inundated with the media at that point of, this is what you strive for, this is that restriction to get that body, and that more that the aesthetic more than the health outcomes were being focused on. And as a child, we don't have a lot of control over what we get to do and not do. And so we take on a lot what we're modeled. And so for me, I picked up on basically my parents' relationship with food and their bodies and movement. And so from there, that was where a lot of it started. My parents were doing their own yo-yo dieting and dealing with the restriction. And so when the pediatrician is telling them, I need to go on a diet, they're then projecting that even further on me. I have distinct memories of things like throwing tantrums on the floor of the kitchen because I'm starving for a snack, which is not a horrible childhood behavior. I'm sure many people's children do that, but it's not so much the behavior of the fact that I was starving because I'm being restricted food. And we forget sometimes that as children, we're born with innate hunger cues, and it's through modeling that we learn what's good and bad. We learn what's right and wrong. We learn how to make choices. And so it's that moral superimposing that comes on that starts to guide some of our choices. But it becomes problematic because there is no more morality when it comes to food. And because when it comes to food, food is not good or bad. Food is not healthy or unhealthy. Food is what we use to fuel our body. Food is what we use to nourish ourselves. Food is used to soothe ourselves. It is used to celebrate. It's used in cultural traditions. There are so many things that food is used for. And so when we start using it as a negative, when we start taking it away, when we start using it as a restriction, it becomes problematic. And so, thankfully, now 40 years down the line, we've really come to a place in dietetics, in movement, where we're able to really come into not only working with children, but within the family unit in fostering healthy relationships with food and teaching children that they're to trust their body and that they have that body autonomy to say, yes, I'm hungry, or no, I'm satisfied, and to know that they're telling the truth, and that movement is something to be fostered, that joy of movement, that it's not something that is forced, and really creating an environment to help kids to be curious about different foods, about different movement. And it really starts with the parent. And if the adults aren't in check, the kids aren't going to be the children aren't going to be growing up in that environment where they have that healthy relationship.
Stephanie, thank you for that. I mean, that's pretty powerful. And again, as a parent personally, and I know people are watching and listening right now, it is true. We are the role models. We are the ones that set the the actual pace and the measures and everything. And the children are gonna, either see through what you do and mimic it, or if we're not doing a good job, then we're just gonna affect them adversely, and that's the problem. So it's we got to do a better job as parents to at least there's an inclusion here to decision making and stuff like that, which is very difficult, especially the older we are in terms of parenthood. We go back in the 80s and 70s, the parents were a little tougher than today, and just the dynamics were different because,
Mhm.
parents said, this is it, this is it, whatever. It's a little change now. I mean, there's more ability of children to be more, to your point, I guess, vocal, and they can have that ability to actually, I guess, share their opinion without any type of retaliation or type of ramifications, right? Or punishment level. So it's a different world, right? And that's a big deal. But again, at the end of the day, it starts with the parents. Um,
Mhm.
and to your point, food is something that we need. And when you already used to a certain time to eat or a certain amount of food, and you just suddenly get deprived this, a child is not going to be able to control that. And again,
Mhm.
your tantrum is just a natural fit, right? Kids do that. It's a
Yeah.
normal thing. And it will be a problem. And again, if someone's watching and listening and you've seen this, or and I've actually seen some of these scenarios actually in real life,
Yeah.
with folks
Well,
that's
I,
going.
I mean, even today at 40 years old, going into my parents' home and having done my own work around my relationship with food and understanding when I am hungry, when I am satisfied, when I am full, and still having that food pushed on me, it creates an awkward dynamic as an adult child to push back and no, I am not hungry, please, I no, I'm not eating right now, thank you. It even as an adult, I mean, this really is a generational thing.
Well, it is a tough and place to be, and I can tell you. I mean, even with me and my family, right? It's there's always that debate about food, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to eat certain food, they want to eat certain food. I want to eat at a certain time, they want to eat at a different time. And I have to tell you, I mean, I just made a decision that I don't care anymore. My kids now eat what they want and whatever. I mean, I do want them to have a discipline, and we want to be as a society, as a family, and we try to develop that every now and then and get together and stuff. But there's so many dynamics, and fighting it doesn't help. And the
Mhm.
more I mean, we try to educate ourselves and have discussions about it and things, and kind of have some settlements or settle in rather on certain measures and maybe certain protocols just for food. I'm making it sound like this is like worldwide politics, but really it's difficult, and especially I have teenagers, so their habits of and timing and everything is kind of awkward. We finish, I mean, kitchen is closed, and then they come out of hibernation and they want to eat, right? And then like the food that they want to eat is not something that we want, and it's a
Mhm.
dynamic. So even shopping now, it's a challenge because we shop almost three ways, because there's our food, there is my daughter's food, there's my son's food, right? And then you have the other dynamic, which is well, let's eat outside. Well, I don't want to eat outside. Now we dashboard in food every day. So it makes it very difficult. And you're
Mhm.
right. Things have changed also. Like back in the days, there was no dashboard or nothing. Yeah, not dashboard, but a DoorDash. There we go. No
Mhm.
DoorDash. So there's none of that stuff. Now we have all these things that are making it
Mhm.
life easy, right? So even the children, they have the apps. They can just order stuff. We didn't have that. So it was different. You were stuck with whatever your parents had.
Right.
That's how we grew up.
Yeah.
What's in
Yeah,
the
you're gonna eat it or not.
Exactly. So you're gonna starve. Well, that's it. Now people have choices, so we can kind of compromise a little bit and settle in and kind of meet in a way and midway and help each other. But it's a tough place,
Mhm.
and again, everybody listening and watching, you're probably laughing right now. We're like, I think I've had some experience, and some that you're not experiencing anything yet. Just be mindful. It might happen. It will happen. I mean, we have that even with our friends. You go somewhere and
Mhm.
there's a whole different concept about what we eat and we're not eating, and then opinions are there. Some are fit, some are not fit. Some they don't care about weight. Some are stickler about weight. Some are watching what they're drinking. Some are not watching, and you have to like almost like adjust to every single scenario and still be you, which is very difficult to do.
I I pray for the day when we live in a society where we will stop commenting on what people eat, drink, and their bodies. There is so much more interesting to talk about in this world.
Thank you for that, and that's a big deal. You mentioned something about the '80s, right? And the different programs and the aerobics and the certain aspect of how people should look. And I've actually covered this previous show similarly. Like everybody had this visual of what a fit person should look like, and you said something very powerful there. Fitness doesn't mean you're healthy. You can be fit, but maybe you're sick internally for other reasons. And there's other things that can make you not as healthy through genetics and maybe some people appear to be like, very fit, but they can have problems that people may not even see. And you can be in a larger body yet still healthier. So you're right. This is not I mean, some doctors, some people may say, well, that's an indicator. That's you're prone to have this disease or illness and so on and so forth because of weight. And there's some truth to some of it, but at the end, I mean, you mentioned something powerful, which is the mobility. That we can agree on. I mean, if you get a certain weight, I mean, your knees can only support a certain, concept, right? So it's a little difficult, but those are realistic things that we can address. Your way of doing it, and that's now we go into the next piece of the discussion, is how you did it. That was phenomenal because first of all, it was not through a coach or through a system or through anything. You decided, and I think that's what it was. It was your decision to just kind of figure out a new way, and your way was to do small steps, but continuously, with a very consistent, way of doing things, right? So you're doing this. You set up your own parameters. You set your own time frames. When to drink the water. And by the way, I love the idea of water because it does fill you up. And there's even water diets and things like that. But use different concepts, and I think you apply them to get you where you need it. And it worked, but it took time. And for people listening and watching, again, that's the other thing. When you want to drop weight overnight, that's probably impossible, or it will have harmful impacts on you. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I will not, claim that, but I can almost guarantee it, and just from my opinion, that nothing, if you have a lot of weight that you want to drop overnight, it's gonna take a toll on your body. Period. Now, I don't think it takes a genius for that, to realize that. So everything can be done, but in moderation. And I love the concept that you said. You started walking 50 yards out or whatever you want, just for few feet up, and then the next thing is around the block, and the next thing you started looking at that stop sign, and you did a little bit of a test run. It was tough. But then you took it. Now we're talking Ironman stuff. I mean, just think about the magnitude that the achievement here. It's crazy success, but small steps. That's the key. I mean, a lot of people want to change overnight everything. You want overnight success. This is success, but it wasn't overnight. It took time. It took determination. It took targets, and you set those goals, and you really stuck by them. You did whatever it takes to make it happen for you at the time that needs to happen. And you did it. I mean, the water breaks, whatever those you called them, I love it because, and again, you had small jugs or small bottles, so this way it's not a lot, and you just kind of kept filling up a little bit. And I'm sure that substitutes some of the hunger or whatever, because it kind of reduced that. Then also the little walk. I mean, I love the idea that you actually do the little trips in between. So there's some movement. So you talked about movement. And with all this, there was no real diet here. It was just habits and practices that you've applied that made a little bit of a difference one day at a time. And then a year later, 2 years later. Now, if I do ask the question, and I want to ask the question, how long did it actually take you to see like that? I mean, I know it started, you noticed the dropping of the weight immediately a little bit, but then how long did it take you to really make that full transition and drop the 200 pounds? I mean, that's a lot of,
So the weight loss took just over 2 years. Now, this is 8 years out now, but the weight loss period was about 2 years.
Well, again, and I thank you for clarifying it, because for people watching and listening, just know, if you are, depending on what the weight, like I told you, I started with 50 pounds. It took me a year, and true story. I mean, it was a year it's easy to gain weight. It's hard to lose weight. It's just and as you get older, it gets worse. But really, it took you 2 years. So first of all, you didn't give up.
Right.
And so again, for anyone watching and listening, for anything you do in life, and especially your health is your wealth, right? You want to invest in it, and whatever it takes. And time is key, right? Now, time is a commodity. We don't want to waste it. But it could be a friend if you played with it nice. And in this case, you did. You allowed yourself the time. Now, somebody could have done it in 1 year, maybe. I don't know. You would put more time, more effort, more whatever. But that's okay. That's the other thing. You don't have to do it because Stephanie has it done in this format. It has to be this format. I do it at my own pace. You do it at your own pace. Everyone can do it. But the key here, don't give up. Be consistent, persevere, make it happen, be resilient about it, and you will get there. Know that it will be like, again, there's no dream here that cannot come true. You just prove to everyone watching and listening right now, you can do Ironman. I haven't even thought about it. I don't think I can do it. To be honest with you, I never thought about it, but I don't think I can do it. But you know what I'm saying? So it's not for everyone to think, but that's a big achievement. I mean, we hear it. These are like, big milestones, big goals that someone can actually do it. And you are doing it for you, not for anybody else. You're doing it because you want to succeed. You want to do this for yourself. And you've done it. And also because you do run a company, right? You do run a program. And you are also leading by example, which I love that concept because people are going to look at you like, wow, I want to be you. I want to do exactly what you've done. And again, this may be not for everyone, and because there's so, like I said earlier, there's so many formats and formulas and methods of weight loss and fitness and wellness and health. But you have found a very smooth way that can fit a certain, a group of folks that would be more likely to do it in your way versus doing it maybe in the fitness, mode, like going to one of those, boot camps, which would be very tremendous. And I've seen, we had, there was a whole show, I think on TLC or something, one of the channels, about, and that was brutal. The stuff that they had to go through, it was crazy. I watched some of those episodes. I'm like, wow, it was not easy. But you did it your way. It took a little longer. I'm sure it was not easy either, but you did it at your pace.
And that's the thing is there are as many diets under the sun as there is people, because there is something that's going to work for everyone, but it's not going to be sustainable for everyone. Because think about what a diet is. It is something that brings in rules and regulations and restrictions into your lifestyle. And it's kind of like the New Year's resolution effect, where we overhaul everything overnight. And so it might last for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a little while. But ultimately, there's going to be pieces that are going to crumble, and we're going to throw it out because it didn't fit our life. Now, when we bring it in the other way and look at it from those small pieces that fit our lifestyle, because those things that didn't fit our lifestyle, it could have been things like our time, our schedule, our kids' schedules, that we didn't want to prepare 2 meals anymore because it wasn't cost effective, or it was just a pain in the rear. Maybe it just wasn't financially feasible anymore to participate in a particular program. There's a lot of reasons why these different things start to crumble for us. But when we start to bring in the different changes over time, that this part looks really good, I'm going to start here, and it fits in this part of my life. It might be the movement piece, or it might be the nutrition piece, or the mindset piece, or whatever. And start with just that chunk of it. Get really consistent with it. It fits my lifestyle. It fits my family. It fits my pocketbook. Then we start to bring in a little bit more of it, a little bit more of it. And it's something that really you gain momentum on. It fits your life. It's something that works for the long term. Then it's something that you're going to stick with. But if it's something that we're adapting our life to, we're not as apt to continue doing it.
Interesting. I love it. I love it. Well, so I'm really getting one key vibe here, which is diet is not really the way. Now, again, for some people, it may be, but I think what people, and you hit right on the nail there, the fact of diet is potentially not sustainable because how long can you possibly maintain one? It could be cost, it could be a lot of things, but just the fact that you're in a particular diet, I mean, whether it's a keto diet, by the way, all these diets do work and they have their own merits. But again, there is different, you can't, they're not marathon, diets. For the most part, most of them are temporary to get you to a particular goal in a particular time frame. And that's a big debate always because people like, oh, there's a new diet, I want to try it. There's a new diet, I want to try it. The question is, well, you're going to try it and it's going to work. If you do it exactly how it is, it's designed to work. But how long can you maintain it? That can be a few months, maybe a year or two, but eventually you're not going to be able to continue with it. That's, for some reason or another. I mean, maybe there's exceptions here and there. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but at least in trends and how I've seen, and we do run a fitness company, we have different folks actually, have different diet requirements or needs and fitness goals. But it is unique, and what we've noticed is that you can try different things. Some people combine a couple ways of doing it, but to your point, what was consistent across all the different things where we see results is whether they use a diet or not. There's the fact of correct nutrition, movement, and time. And I think when you have these three elements, regardless of what formula you use, you will start seeing a result. In your case, you did all the three. First of all, you built in the movement in it. By the way, movement is big here. And again, movement doesn't have to be like we're hitting a box, an actual bag or like doing ropes and running, on the outset.
Yeah.
But it's any movement to get your body moving and at least, some exercise level. And then you talked about just your thing. I mean, that was great. Let's not eat outside. Let's eat home. Big difference. There's better nutrition what you cook home than. And by the way, I'm not putting down the restaurant food, whatever. There's great stuff. I mean, out there. But again, when you do eat outside, there is a level of sodium and sugar and some things that may not be as good, for your body as they need to be, right? And maybe we crave that. That's okay. We want to also somehow have a contribution to the economy. I get that. We all crave a little bit of food that is not home and just for me a break point. You want to go out and somebody cooks, right? That's okay. But the idea is, to your point, you changed your habits and your format, your method, your timing, your schedule. You made some tweaks to your lifestyle, and therefore you started seeing the results, and it takes. So again, diet option maybe. For some, not for everyone. But the one thing that's consistent, even with diets, you still have to do all this stuff. You can do all the diets you want, but if you don't do anything else with it, it can just backfire on you, right? And the other thing, the day you give up your diet, because now it's not consistent or sustainable, you will gain those pounds quickly. Unfortunately, the body is just how they work. I mean, you probably take a long time to lose them, but they'll just, and sometimes it gets worse because that's almost like a bad scenario that we don't want to go there, but it happens. So I know you're not using that strategy with your customers and your clients. You have a different way.
Yes. So I approach things from the intuitive eating framework and use a lot of mindful eating techniques where it really takes that restrictive diet mentality out of it. And so we're getting back to that innate ability to trust our body's cues to show us what we need in terms of nutrition. Consider a toddler. A toddler comes to you for food and they may eat the entire plate or they may eat 3 bites and walk away. They are really in tune with their hunger cues. They know that they are physically hungry. They know when they're satisfied. They know when they're full. They know whether they want that cookie or that apple. And somewhere we've lost that as adults because we've been listening to the noise. We've maybe forgotten, due to whatever, what our body needs. And it takes a little bit of intentional practice to get that body awareness back, to start forgetting some of those obligatory food rules that we've put in place and start to listen to what our body needs. And it can be a little bit of a scary thing to start to listen to our body, because there is that fear, well, if I listen to what my body wants, I'm going to eat chocolate bars all day. Well, you might actually eat chocolate for a little while, but your body is not going to allow you to eat chocolate forever. It's going to give you the indicator, hey, I'm ready for something else. I need this. I need that. And that's what we look at when we look at nutrition. We look at what is someone eating across a day, across a week, across a span of time. And we start to see the patterns in what they're consuming. And are there holes in the nutrients that they're taking in? And instead of that place of subtraction, taking things away, I like to look at it in that math equation, that we're not restricting your food. We're not going to take things away. We're going to add things. So what can we do to bolster what you're doing? What can we add to your nutrition to make sure you're getting everything you need to function optimally? It might be more fruits and vegetables. It might be a little bit more protein. It might be a little bit more, fiber, whole grains, whatever it might be. Sometimes it might even be that you're getting a really good variety of foods. You're getting the nutrients that you need, but you're still feeling sluggish at this point in the day, or this particular food makes you feel bad. That's why we look at things over a period of time to see your habits and how things make you feel. Like, I always give the example of pasta. Pasta at night is an awful choice for me to make. It will sit like a brick in my stomach. I will wake up in the morning with a headache. You do not want to know me the next day because I will be miserable. But like today, I had a little bit of pasta with lunch. It gives me the energy for the afternoon. I don't hit that afternoon slump and I feel pretty good. So sometimes it's the timing of particular foods in the day and how it helps us to optimally function throughout the day. So it's really not only what are we eating, but when are we eating, and making sure we're getting that great variety of food.
I love it. I love it. It's a perfect world in a way, because to your point is you're designing this according to the human nature without any specific, you're just adjusting, adapting, and getting them to really discover themselves and their needs, and you're giving them the time to really work it out. I think that's what I'm capturing right now in terms of generic format here. But
Well, it is, because it's not only taking that nutrition piece, but it's working in tandem with that relationship with food. How are you treating food? Is it just out of necessity? Is it that you're mindlessly eating? How does food play a part in your daily life, because sometimes that needs a little bit of work too. And so we can't work on one without the other.
Well, that's important. And I think the other piece is, and I'm not sure if in your program, obviously you add some sort of a directive for movement or some concept of movement. Is that something that you also, I guess, prescribe in your work?
Depending on how I'm working together with somebody, I work with movement, I work with nutrition, I work with the two together. Just depends on how we're working together.
Now, that the in terms of your clients and or if audiences right now are interested in I guess discovering your program and talking to you, how long is a program, for example, if someone comes to you, does that I'm assuming varies based on the needs of each one, but is there like a particular curriculum syllabus that people will actually go to that they have to actually make through to be able to see results, or you adjust accordingly and you tweak according to each individual?
Everything is 100% individualized. I do not do anything canned or scripted, um, because just, we are 100% individual people with individual needs. I do have what I call my content vault. For those people who don't have the option of that one-on-one coaching, but really, are like, I need you, that they do have that ability to have access to my content, where it does have my videos, my recordings, my workouts, things like that. But other than that, everything is 100% individual, because we need to look at what are your needs, not this is the mass prescription, because there isn't one.
Yeah, and I love it, and that's why. I mean, I asked the reason, the question for that specific reason. I want to make sure that we convey that message that it is customizable based on each individual, targets, goals, and needs and situation. Because not everybody wants a particular, weight, to hit, or it depends on a lot of things, right? To your point, and also not everybody has the same amount of time available to dedicate, whatever the case may be. So you do an assessment, basically, right? And determine what those needs are, and then there's got to be a commitment from those customers and clients, because I mean, if they start a program, they don't continue, I mean, the results may vary.
Right. If you're coming to work with me, we're at least 6 to 12 months together. We're not a fly by night.
That's
you're,
exactly.
you're gonna see me more than once.
Well, and that's beautiful, because to your point, I mean, again, in your case, you did it for yourself. It took you 2 years, but again, you had a different weight level that you needed to reach, and everybody's gonna have a different start point. But at the end of the day, it was also your own pace, and I think that's the key here. It's really a lot of people sometimes are afraid of fitness or diet or programs because they're almost scared to get committed into these things because of the time that's going to take, or the intensity that's going to have, right? But in this case, I think people just listening and watching right now, like, okay, I can do this. I mean, I'll do it at my own pace. I can do it. You have patience. You're going to work with me, and we're going to get to the end, a game here. And by that time, I should look good, feel good, at least to the level I want. I mean, again, here it's all depend on what is it that you're looking for as an individual. Not everybody has the same objective. It's within the same realm. We want to be healthier. We want to have, a level of mobility and fitness that we want, but that means different things for different people. And I think that's one of your signatures here, is that you make people feel that and you give them that. It's not like this is how you need to look and this is how we're going to make you look. You're going to look the way you want, and we're just going to give you the measures and the way to do it. And we're going to guide you through it. And I think that's a big difference, because again, in some of these forms of or methods, you almost have like, this is how you're going to look when we're going to do this. We're going to do this in 3 weeks, and we're going to make you transform because you're going to be in the movie. That's a little different than in your case. This is about life, feeling good, being good, living, a happy life with them. Because that's the other thing. I think there is a psychological effect to these diets and changes, because if you're really like, it creates anxiety, depression. I'm not getting my goals and stuff. When you give them the ease, they go in with real calm, and they're collected, they're enjoying it, so they do more. as opposed to when they have fear factors that are built in, and then they're afraid and they get stressed out. And stress doesn't help. Nothing that has a stress environment is going to get you results. It's just a bad thing, right? So I love your way of doing it. I think it's a very easy way and simple way for folks to actually be able to adhere to, and certainly achieve goals. And I think it will resonate with a lot of folks that may have maybe they cannot do the standard form of fitness level. I mean, or like some of the boot camp or HIIT training and stuff like that. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
And also age groups can vary. I mean, when someone is at a younger age, it's different. When you get older, things are not the same. Your body's not responding the same way. So, and by the way, that's the next question for you. What is your, I guess, range of age groups that you work with?
You just almost described my specialty. I love working with those people that are just getting into movement for insert whatever reason here. Whether it's you've been sedentary for a long period of time because of chronic illness, injury, age, body size, and you're like, I am never going to the gym again, whatever that reason is. One of the things that I specialize in is that modified fitness and really meeting you where you're at with your body and finding that form of movement that meets your goals, because everyone's goals isn't necessarily weight loss either. And I work with a lot of different modalities of movement. So it's not necessarily all cardiovascular centered. You're not going to be always weightlifting. A lot of things I do because a number of people, I mean, not everyone's coming into my gym in person. Many people are virtual. We do a lot of things without equipment, using body weight resistance and things that are very easy on the body, especially if you do have those chronic conditions where one day you might be in a lot of pain or stiffness and other days you feel pretty good. There's a lot of different ways you can move your body and feel great, regardless of that range of motion or that flexibility someday.
Steph, I think you answered some of the questions I had for you already. I was going to ask you, first of all, are you doing this virtually? And you just answered that. So I mean, I guess it's a combination. If someone is close to you, they can physically come and work with you locally, and then anyone else can certainly join you from a distance through a virtual platform.
Yes.
And again, now, how often do you do this on a weekly basis, or is it does it have different frequency?
So depending on the different program I have with people, some people I meet with once a week, some people I meet with multiple times a week. It just depends on what we're working towards.
Okay, excellent. And the other thing is, I know you mentioned, very little equipment. Well, no, I mean, I love the idea of body weight because, I mean, yes, there's a lot of resistance that the body can, give and provide. And, because sometimes people are like, I can't afford, heavy equipment or this, that, or the other. I don't have space. And so your formula does include exercise, includes the diet, well, not the diet, nutrition, I would say. So just be careful. The word diet gets a little misconstrued there. But I think I love it because you have all these things figured out and they do work. Now let's talk about some of the beautiful stories that you might have about some of the folks that you've helped transform or change their life for better. Any particular one that comes to mind, like just right now? I mean, for people listening right now, something that really touchy. Besides your story, by the way.
And I'll be honest, I don't think my story is as special some days when I look around and see some of the people that I work with, because I love helping people and I love seeing that light come on in people's faces. And my favorite story, and I shouldn't have favorites, but my favorite is I'll say a more seasoned lady that she was convinced that at her age she could not build strength. And all from the day we started working together, complained that she had no upper body strength and was just not going to build it. And over time and, just repeated workouts, after about 6 months, she had this piece of equipment of some sort in her living room, and she always said she had to have her son come over and move it so she could vacuum. And she said one day, after we had been working together for about 6 months, she said she was vacuuming, and all of a sudden she just plucked it up with one hand, vacuumed with the other, dropped it right down, and says she just stood there in shock because she couldn't believe that she was able to lift it on her own, because she had convinced herself she would never be strong enough to do any type of lifting at her age.
Wow. And by the way, that people may be like literally just absorbing now and listening and kind of like taking this, because for some people like, well, that's something that can be done, but people don't
Now,
realize how
this
difficult.
is someone that has been doing strength training with no equipment, using only body weight resistance, and showing up twice a week for about 40 minutes, increasing that strength and flexibility, and did not realize that going from I can't carry a couple bags of groceries to I'm lifting something that's 30, 35 pounds without even thinking about it.
And by the way, that is extreme, in terms of results, because while people may think, well, sometimes people would judge like, well, that's not a lot, but that is a lot. If you have a problem and you can't even carry a couple
Yeah,
things.
when you're 80 years old.
Exactly. There you go. See, the people don't realize that. I thank you for clarifying it, because I wanted to, because people may think, well, what kind of person cannot lift a couple? No, people cannot. I mean, that's the thing. People take everything for granted, and we always look at it from our side. Got to look at it from other people's experiences and their lives and their dilemmas. Sometimes we have to be grateful for what we have at any time in our lives, and we take things for granted that some other folks would love to have. This is a simple example. Someone who lived their life and at a certain age, she's not able to do basic movement or lift little things. And without help, this could have been possible, and now it is. And that is actually an admirable story. That is definitely an amazing story and unique in its own. And I've seen some of these concepts and in real life, and it's not easy for some of those folks to do the basic things that most of the people think, well, especially when, and amazing, these shows actually are shared with a lot of people. So we have a very wide range of age groups here. so some of the younger folks like, well, I don't care about this. I mean, it doesn't affect me. But you never know. You can be as healthy as possible, and something happens, and now as simple as you fall, and now you can't, do movement. All right. I mean, it can happen to any one of us any day. So it doesn't change any concept, but at least understanding that there are ways, and there are folks out there that can help you to get to those goals and do better. And thank you for doing the work that you do, because I think that's very valuable. And you are transforming lives. You are changing lives for the better and helping people live a happier life. Because that's the other thing. When you have issues, or you feel that you're limited and you're not longer doing what you see other people may be doing, that also has an impact on you. And so by seeing and achieving some of these minor things for others, but major for you, that's actually in itself an achievement, and that's a big deal. And everybody's success is not necessarily the same. So, what could be successful, that person is lifting that vacuum without even thinking about it, may not be something for someone else, but it is. And so that's the thing. Always, we have this dilemma as humans. We judge others based on what we do and what we can do. But we never put ourselves in their shoes first before especially if you have never experienced other people's, places and their dilemmas and their lives and whatever their conditions are, how can you even judge, right?
Right.
And it's just amazing how people don't realize that. So I just wanted to convey that message because it all links in, because sometimes we listen and we watch and we're like, well, what does that have to do with me? Life can be treacherous.
Mhm.
A lot of people can be, as healthy as they can dream of, and the next day they may not. I mean, the pandemic did show us a lot of that. I mean, people
Well,
were super
and
healthy.
that is, and I mean, even people that have had COVID
Mhm.
and that decision to come back into movement, for some, it has been very difficult because some people had COVID a little bit harder than others and have really had to persevere in showing up for the movement. It's not only just been that rebuilding of fitness, but it's been a lot of mindset work in I can't do the things that I was able to do just a couple months ago. And so it's while we think we're invincible, there are things that can happen in an instant that change who we are and our abilities. I had valley fever two years ago, 3 years ago, and time flies. And it in the middle of race training and had to rebuild my lung capacity. That's something that really changes us, and we have to make the decision to continue to show up for ourselves and what we want for our health.
It's the most important piece that you just covered right now with folks is it can happen, but we have to be in it to win it. You have to do what it takes to get there. You have to be determined to do it, and it can happen. By the way, the concept that you mentioned about COVID, it's a lot of people may not realize that some people really, really got affected badly with the post-COVID stuff
Mhm.
and the long COVID, as they say, some would refer to, and also just the weakness, that fatigue, and a lot of things and movement, even just your heart problem. I mean, some people do experience heart issues, and they cannot do a lot of activity past at least more recent months, and
Mhm.
it takes time to recuperate for some of these things. So again, folks, and it can happen to as simple as you can just slip and fall, and that can take time. I mean, a lot of things can happen, but you're right. It's the matter of taking the necessary steps, have the determination, have the patience, and really go through. To your point, yeah, show up and get it done. So listen. I mean, we've exceeded the hour, and I know we've covered a lot of ground. So I just want just to give you a few more minutes just to share with us any last minute, thoughts or advice you want to give people. I mean, I know you've given a lot of it, but like anything that you want to just wrap up the actual show with.
My one soapbox is um, I always get on about body autonomy, in that you are the expert on your own body, whether it comes with fitness experts, nutritionists, dietitians, doctors, specialists. You are going to hear a variety of whatever given to you over the course of your life. And you can choose to take those things at face value. You can do your homework, or you can choose to fight back and pave your own path. I actually had a provider once walk into the room and choose not to treat me because of my body size. Now I am sure many people will never experience that outright discrimination that I did from the medical profession, but there are many, many people that get told every day, lose weight and this will fix your problem. And it's not so much the weight loss that changes our health outcomes, but those habits that we engage in every day. And so we need to really be our own best advocate and know ourselves, because we are our body's best expert.
And that that is true. That's indeed. But you know what? I think we got to share this episode with us professional, provider that actually refused to give you the care.
Well, thankfully, they are not thankfully, but they are no longer walking the planet, and so they are not causing any harm to any other patients. I'm grateful for that, but I do not wish anyone else that experience.
Well, listen, you did prove them and anyone of that same mindset that don't judge. You're supposed to help, and that's actually what doctors are meant to do, right? And yes, and again, from a doctor's perspective, I get it. Their surgeries, things like that, they do actually need and require a certain weight management to be able to do those things. And there's some technicality to that, and we're not going to question that. But to your point, it could have worked with you. Didn't have to give you that blunt, I don't care, whatever, it's your thing. And that's really like, being not a good professional about it. I mean, that's bad bed manners. I mean, maybe the worst. I think even doctors, if they listen to this, they'd probably be like, come on. Yes, it's good to tell the truth to someone. It's one thing, but you have to be diplomatic about it. You need to know your approach is everything. At the end of the day, if that doctor did give you a little bit of listen, we cannot do this. We need to postpone. You need to do some work, whatever, and give you some input that is positive. You probably would have been like, yes, I'm going to do this and give you some inspiration, as opposed to really just shut you down and you felt the way you felt. Not appropriate, not good at all. So again, from this platform, we need to know how to speak to people. Sometimes just what you say, it's not how you say it. It's I guess how you say things, right? And choosing the right platform, the right way to do it is key. But so thank you for that. I just wanted to do that because I think, by the way, your dilemma is probably a lot of folks is out there and they might experience the same thing. So, just be nice and be kind. Sometimes it's just simple as that, right? I mean, that's not hard to do, right? All right. So one last question before we end the show today. So how can people reach out to you?
I am all over some iteration of Heart and Soul Fitness and Wellness, and Soul is SOLE. On social media, I'm on all the platforms. Easiest way to find me is on my website, Heart and Soul, SOLE fit.com. On my website is all my goodies. You can get on my calendar to have a conversation about your wellness, and let's talk about your goals. And I know that I'm not everybody's jam, but I've cultivated a referral network of people that I know, like, and most of all trust, that if I am not your fit, I'm going to make sure that you are with somebody that is going to get you to where you want to be.
And that's beautiful. That's an excellent piece because, yeah, you might not be able to be the right, resource, but you do, I guess, lead people to different resources that can get them what their results, whatever results they are looking for. And thank you for that. So again, we will have the actual link to your website on the description of the show, so people can also link, and click on and go to you, and hopefully they can connect with you. So that being said, Stephanie, thank you for an awesome, discussion and dialogue and a lot of good insights. And I think an opportunity to share your resource with our audiences here, I think that's big. And a lot of good advice, I think, that came out of this discussion. And hopefully people can take it to the next level. And even if, whether they use the service or not, that at least they can get something positive, that they can live with, or maybe share with somebody else that they may think that needs some of the services or your methodology. So that being said, folks, thank you for being with us, for watching on the FitnessFab channel, iHealth channel, and listening on iHealth This is your host, Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. Different show, different guest, different topic. Bye for now.